Hello my sewing besties, welcome to another detailed tutorial video. In this video I'll teach you how to cut 20 amazing neckline styles step by step. This video is beginner friendly and also a practical video, so get your pattern paper, your curve ruler or pattern master and pencil. Let's get started. So I'll be starting with our round neckline. So for your basic round neckline video, the professional way of cutting it is your bust divided by 8 divided by 2 plus 1. Whatever you have, your answer is what you use as your neck depth, and you also use it as your neck width. So for me, my bust is 36, so I'll divide 36 divided by 8 divided by 2 plus 1. My answer is 3.2, so that's what I'll be using for my neck depth, and I also use it as my neck width. So whatever you have as your answer, that's what you use, and you place it as your neck depth and also your neck width. So I'm just going to mark 3.2 as my neck width and also my neck depth, and then I'm just going to do so and create a box. After creating a box, the next thing I'm going to do is to use my curve ruler. I'll make it sit on these 2 points just like how I did this, and then I'm just going to create a curve around that area, and then I'm just going to use my scissors and cut it out. Now for the round neckline, here's something I want you to know. If you're working with mesh, lace or stretchy fabrics, especially for ashrabi styles, use 3 by 3 inches width by 3 inches depth. It's safe and it's not going to drag or loosen. So for your next neckline, asymmetrical overlap neckline, I'll come out by 3.2, which is your basic round neck, and I'm just going to mark 3.2. When I open it up, you have to open it up before you cut. Mark 3.2. On the other side, I also mark 3.2. So I'm just confirming that I have 3.2 on both sides. So the next thing I'm going to do is from this point, I'll come out by 1 inch. I'll come out by 1 inch. You can come out by 1.5, depends on what you want. For the depth, I want it to be as deep as 7 inches because I want this sleeve, this neckline to be moderate, so it depends on what you want. You can come down by 8 inches, and then I'm just going to rule a straight line, and then from this point 7 inches I'll rule a slant line and connect it to that other point. Please do exactly as how I've done this. It depends on what you want. If you want it to be on your right hand side or your left hand side, for me I want it to be on my right hand side. And then look at what I'm just going to do. I'm just going to fold that point. You can notch that point, the other point where you have 3.2 where it ends, so you can get your exact neckline. So this is what I have after cutting my asymmetrical overlap neckline. I don't know, I like this neckline. It's different, it's exceptional. So for your next neckline, which is your off shoulder neckline, I'll be teaching you how to cut it. For the front, you come down by how deep you want it to be. For me, I want it to be as deep as 6.5. If you want 7 inches, that's fine. And on the arm, I also decide how deep I want it to be. I want to come down by 4 inches. If you want 5 inches, it's all based on preference on what you want. I'm just going to use a curve ruler and curve it like this. You can also take this other shape and rule a straight line, or if you want, you can also make it a sweetheart or shoulder neckline. So if you want it to be a sweetheart or shoulder neckline, this is how you place your curve, and then you just draw the curve like this. So I'll start by cutting out this sweetheart or shoulder neckline, so you can see the end product of what I have. I prefer this off shoulder sweetheart neckline, this sweetheart off shoulder neckline. So this is what I have, but if you don't want it, you can either use the straight line or you can use the curvy part, and I'm just going to use the curvy part. Yes, I'm just going to use the curvy part. If you want the straight line, it depends on what you want. However we cut it, that's what you get. You can always practice on your paper first to see exactly what you want, to see if that's what you want before you cut it out on your fabric. So this is our off shoulder neckline. Do you like the sweetheart neckline, or you like the curvy parts, or do you prefer the straight one? So tell me what you prefer. For our next neckline, I'll be teaching you how to cut the queen and neckline. So for your width, it's not supposed to be too wide. So for your width, I'll be using 2.5. You can use 3 inches, 2.5 or 3 inches. So I'm just confirming that I have 2.5. And then for the depth, you also decide how deep you want it to be. For me, I want to use 7 inches because I want it to be moderate. So in that 7 inches, I'm going to confirm and also place my 2.5 so I can rule a straight line. And then I'm just going to create a box. So after creating a box, the next thing we are going to do is this 37 inches, I'm going to go up by 3 inches. I'm just going to go up by 3 inches, and the edge of your armhole, I'll come out by 3 inches, or you can come out by 2.5. It depends on what you want, but for me, I'll be using I'll be using 3 inches, and then I'm just going to connect a slant line like this, and then I'll use the curvy part of my ruler. Just look at how I place it. You place it exactly like that, and then I'm just going to cut it out to get my queen and neckline. Yes, so this is how to cut your queen and neckline. It's easy, right? Yeah, I know, very easy. So this is your queen and neckline. Don't forget to practice these necklines. So for the next neckline, I'll be showing you how to cut your V neckline. So for my V neckline, I'll be using a width of 3 inches. I'll be using a width of 3 inches. If you want to use 3 for 8, 4 inches, depends on what you want. And then I'll be using a depth of 7 inches. You can use 6 inches, 8 inches, 9 inches. Like I told you, it depends on preference. I'm just going to use the straight part of my ruler to connect it. And if you want to make this spicy, you can use the curvy part of your curve ruler, and then you're just going to connect it like this. Just do exactly as how I've done. Use the curvy part and connect it. For me, I'm just going to use the curvy part. You can use the straight part. You can cut out the straight part. It's going to give you your V neckline, or you can use the curvy part. It's going to still give you a V neckline. So this is what we have as our V neckline. I'm just going to label it as our V neckline. So for our next neckline, I'm teaching you how to cut your boot neckline. So for boot neckline, the width is supposed to be wide, and then the depth is going to be low. So I'll be using a width of 5 inches. If you want to use 4 for 8, it depends on what you want, or 5, 5, 8. For me, I'll be using 5 inches. And for the depth, I'll be going down as low as 2 for 8. It's not supposed to be so low. You can use 2 inches or 2 for 8. It depends on what you want. So I'm just going to use my curvy part of my ruler and connect it. You make sure the 2 points meet, and then I'm just going to cut it out. I made it this far into this neckline video. I want you to know you are amazing. If you are learning something new or enjoying the process, please like this video, drop a comment. Don't forget to share this with someone who is learning how to sew. Your support helps me going. It helps me to reach more people who needs this knowledge. So this is our boat neckline. So for our next neckline, I'll be teaching you how to cut your square neckline. So for this square neckline, I'll be using a width of 3 inches. There are 2 ways of cutting this square neckline. I'm teaching you both of them, and then I'll be using a depth of 5 for 8. If you want it as high as 5 inches, that's fine, but this particular one, it's not so low. So after marking it so it's going to be accurate, I bring my 3 inches down, and then I just square it up. After I square it up, I'm just going to cut it out. So when I cut it out, this is my square neckline. This is the first way on how to cut your square neckline. So the second way on how to cut your square neckline is determine the depth. It is always lower. For me, I'll be using 7.5. You can use 8, you can use 6.5. It depends on what you want, but for me, I'll be using 7.5, and the depth I used was 3 inches, so I'll just add 1, so it becomes 4 inches. This neckline, the width is always wider than the normal square neckline, so I'm just going to square it up. So this is what we have as the second method of cutting your square neckline. After doing that, I'm just going to cut it out, and then you can see the end product of what we have. So this is our square neckline. So the next neckline I'll be teaching you is a sweetheart neckline. For the sweetheart neckline, I'm using a width of 4 inches. You can use 3 for 8. It depends on what you want. This is how wide I want it to be. And then for the depth of the neckline, I'll be going down by 7 inches. You'll be wondering why I'm using 7 inches for most of this tutorial. I'm using 7 inches because my bust point is 9 inches, and I do not want my bust to be revealing. So I'm just going to square this up. On that line, I'll be going up by 2 for 8. You can use 2 for 8 or 3 inches. I'll be using 3 inches. I'm just going to mark that point, and then I'll use the curvy part of this curve ruler and connect it like this. I'm just going to cut it out. So voila, this is what we have as our sweetheart neckline. Very easy. Don't forget to practice. Practice makes perfect. I'll be teaching you how to cut your W or inverted queen and neckline, a trendy neckline. I'll be using a width of 3 inches, and for the depth, I'll be using 7 inches. I already explained why I'm using 7 inches, and then on this 7 inches I came down. I'll be using a width of 4 inches. You can use 4 for 8. It depends on what you want, but 4 inches is just perfect. And then I'm going to connect the lines. After connecting the lines, the next thing I'll be doing is on this front side, I'll be using I'll be going up by 2 inches. You can use 2 for 8. It depends on what you want. I'm just going to mark that point and curve it. I'll make sure that point meet each other like that. I'll use the curvy part of my curve ruler. Please do exactly as I'm doing in this video, and then I'm just going to cut it out. And yeah, this is what we have a W or inverted queen and neckline. This is what we have a trendy neckline. So our next neckline is scoop neckline. So I'll be using a width of 4.5 for my width, and the depth I'll be going down by 7 inches. If you are using a width of 3 or 4 inches, you can go down by 8 inches or 9. So I'm just going to square it up. Scoop necklines are especially great for balancing wide shoulders, elongating short necks, and drawing attention to the collarbone most times, which helps to give a soft, elegant look. So this is our scoop or U neckline. So for the next neckline, which is the halter neckline, I'm just going to go up by 3.2 and use the neck width and depth of 3.2, just like how I taught you how to cut your basic round neck. I'm just going to do that, and the next thing I'll do is on that line I'll go down by 1 inch. You can go down by 1 for 8. I'll use 1 for 8. After coming down by 1 for 8, I'm just going to curve it back to the armhole. You curve it back to your armhole, and then I'm just going to cut it out. So this is your halter neckline. This is how to cut your halter neckline. So for your next neckline, I'll be teaching you how to cut your asymmetrical neckline. So for your asymmetrical neckline, I just use the basic round neckline. I cut it and then I open it. For this neckline, you have to open it up before you cut it. So you choose what part you want to use. So I'm using this other hand, this side, the right hand side. So from the edge of the paper, I'm just going to mark 1 for 8. So on that line, I'll be coming down by 7 inches. I already explained why I'm using 7 inches, but you can use 8 inches depending on your bust front and how revealing you want it to be. So on the midpoint of my neckline, I'll come down by 1 for 8. You can go by 1 inch or 2 inches, depends on what you want, but this is what I'm using. And then on this other side of the paper, I'm just going to use 1/2 inch, and then I'm just going to connect the lines from this middle point to the first end. I'm going to use a curve ruler and use a straight ruler and connect it. So to spice this up, I'm going to turn my curve ruler like this and make a curve, create a curve there. And then I'm just going to cut the first one, so you see the outcome. You can just experiment and be creative around the neckline. This is what I have, and for the second one, this is what I have. Which of them do you prefer? For me, I prefer the curvy part. So this is your asymmetrical neckline. So for our next neckline, I'll be teaching you how to cut your wrap neckline. It's always open when you are cutting your wrap neckline. So I'll be using a width of 3.5. From that middle point, I'll mark 3.5. You can use 4 inches. It depends on how wide you want the width to be. So for the depth, I'll be using 7.5 for the depth. 7.5 is what I'll be using as the depth. And on this down part, you can choose to do a full wrap or a half wrap. But for the purpose of this video, I'll be doing a full wrap. So from the down point, I went up by 3 inches. So I'm just going to connect my lines, the points I mark. I'm going to connect it. So I'm going to use the curvy part and just connect it back to the edge of the paper. So I'm just going to trim it out. This is what I have when you cut out with the straight line, and if you cut out with the curvy part, this is what I have. So this is your wrap neckline. When you're cutting your wrap neckline, don't forget to cut 2 of it. So guys, for your next neckline, I'm teaching you how to cut split neckline. So I'll be using a width of 4.5. If you want to use 4 inches or 3.5 is fine, and you decide the depth, how deep you want it to be, if you want it to be revealing or not. For this, I'm going to use 8 inches for the depth. If you want to use 7, that's fine. So I'll decide how I want the neckline, that's the round neckline, to be deep, and I want it to be as deep as 4 inches. And then from that 4 inches, I'm going to come out by 1/2 inch. So I'll just mark the 1/2 inch line, and then I'll just make a curve around that area and also make a curve around the down area. And then the next thing I'm just going to do is to cut it out. So this is what we have for our split neckline. It is very easy. So for a one-sided off-shoulder neckline, you open it up after cutting your basic round neckline. Then you decide how deep you want it to be from the edge of the armhole. So for me, I want it to be as deep as 5.5. And then I'm just going to curve it back to the neckline. That's the half part of it. I'm just going to curve it back to it, and then I'm just going to trim it out. So yeah, this is what we have for our one-sided all shoulder neckline. I hope you like this neckline. Don't forget to determine what side you want it to be. I'll teach you how to cut your keyhole neckline. So you just cut your basic round neck. That's the first thing I did. And then I'll determine where I want my keyhole to start and I want it to stop. I'm using 5 and I want it to stop at 7 because I don't want my brush to be revealing. And then from that 5 to 7, I'll find the midpoint, which is 6 inches. After finding the midpoint, I'm just going to mark it all through and connect a straight line in the midpoint. After I draw a straight line, I'm just going to determine how wide I want it to be. I want it to be as wide as 4.5. You can use 4 inches. It depends on what you want. And then I'm just going to use my curve ruler and connect those 2 points together. And then I'm also going to connect it down together. I want to use the sweethearts for the down part. I'm just going to connect it down. If you don't want the sweetheart, you can also use an oval shape. I'm going to be cutting the both of them so you can see. I'm just going to cut out the sweethearts first so you can see the end product. I'll cut everything out. So this is what I have for my sweetheart neckline. That's the yoke. The upper part is the yoke. That's what they call yoke. So this is my keyhole neckline. And then I'm just going to cut out the oval part so you can see the shape. This is what I have for the oval. So this is my keyhole neckline. So I'll be teaching how to cut the Grecian neckline. I cut my basic round neckline. So from that point, I'll come down by 2.5 inch. You can come out by 2 inches or 2.5. It all depends on what you want. And then on that 2.5, I'll come out by 1 inch, and then I'm just going to rule a straight line on that 1 inch I came out from. And then from this edge of my neckline, I'm going to come out by 2 inches. If you want to come out by 2.5, that's fine. If you watch this video to this point, please type Grace in the comment section. Let me know the people that watch till the end. I'm just going to connect the points. After connecting that point to a straight ruler, I'm going to use the curvy part of my curve ruler and curve it like this. I want it to be more curvier, so I raised it up, and then that's what I did there. This marks the final neckline, and if you've made it all the way to the end, you're not just a viewer, you are family to me. Please like, share and subscribe to support more content like this. So this is what we have for our Grecian neckline. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe and turn on your notification bell for more detailed tutorial. So this is our Grecian neckline. Don't forget to practice. Thanks for watching.